Well, I have done a rearrangement of my playlist because there's many books that I read, and so many of them are mixed in with playlists I've made from other parts of the internet where I've found something that I like to keep in my playlist. And then that makes it very hard for people to find the books that I've been reading. Also, I have the number AA beside the books that I read, and then I have a AAA in front of those that are books that I read, which I also have typed up, or a PDF file on it, which I can send to anyone who would like that sent to him or her. That way, if you see a AAA in front of any of these books on my playlist, then you can ask me for that and I'll send it to you as quick as I hear from you. So the very first one you see here is called Exploring the Vector Equilibrium. That's not really a book, that's just me showing some of my sacred geometry creations. It's a little redundant because I say the same thing over and over. I was watching it the other day and I realized, wow, that's redundant. But you might find it interesting if you're interested in sacred geometry. Okay, The Universal One by Walter Russell. I don't have that book typed up, but I do read it, and in the reading of it, there's 97 different videos, and they give the charts as best I can. The pictures aren't as detailed as I would like them to be, but this is The Universal One by Walter Russell. Next, you see Book 5 of the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. I have actually all 5 books, 1 through 5, and this is Book 5. The next one, Feeling is the Secret, and this is by Neville Goddard. The next one I call New World Order as described by Bayard Spalding. Actually, this is Book 4 of the Life and Teachings. I called it that just to get some attention to it, because he does talk a lot about the restructuring of society in this book. Now, the next one there is Psychania Lessons by Frank Robinson. He's someone I just found out about not too long ago, who used to mail his lessons to people. The first one to do this mailing lessons, and he was quite successful at it. They called him the Mail Order Prophet. He's very good. Then The Kabbalion. I found that online and read it. And then this next one is called The Muddy Guru. Talks about the never-ending story. That's just me talking about that little series of shows that were called The Never-Ending Story. The next one starts with the ones that are AAA, which means I have these and can send them to anyone interested. And this one is The Return of the Bird Tribes by Ken Carey. Very good book. Talks about White Buffalo Calf Woman and the Peacemaker. It talks a lot about peace. This next one's called A Call at Dawn. And this was a book that I typed up that was written by someone. It turned out that was a neighbor to me. I lived in a mobile home park, and right across the street from that park, this man had lived, and he had all these experiences with our space brothers from other planets, and he actually went up in their crafts, and he wrote this book about his experiences called A Call at Dawn, and I have that typed up. I can send it to anyone. The next one is Book 1 of the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. Next one, Book 2, The Life and Teachings, and the next one, Book 3. So you see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of them. And the next one is called Cosmic Journeys. And this is about Rosalind McKnight, who journeyed in the laboratory of Robert Monroe out of body. And she had all these wonderful things to tell us about what it's like to journey out of body. And that's very interesting, this book is. The next one is called Illusions, and that's by Richard Bosch. And also right under that is Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Both of these are fictional stories, but they tell a lot of wonderful truths. And I think they're very, very good. The next one, Love Without Conditions. This is a book written by Paul Ferrini, and he writes it like first person Jesus. It's very good. And this next one is called Resurrection, and this is some more of Neville Goddard's book, well, several of his speeches that are in this book. This next one I call Saved or Not Saved is something I wrote myself, and it was just a little imaginary conversation I would like to have with someone who was worried whether or not I was a saved person. So that's kind of interesting. There's only 4 videos to that. Okay, this next one, I have the PDF file for this. It's called Seth Speaks, and I can send that to anyone interested. There's 74 videos in that, but you can hear me read it and follow along if you want to read it as I read it. The next one is called The Divine Iliad 1, and then after that, The Divine Iliad 2. Both of these are by Walter Russell. Very, very good books. He's the same one who wrote the Universal one. And the next one is from the book by Baird Spalding called The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. But this is a portion of one of the books that talks about the formation of the planets. The next 2 books are, of the next 2 playlists are one book. It's called The Light Shall Set You Free by Norma Milanovich. And I have that in two parts. A very good book. A lot of people are looking for that, but it's out of print, so it's really hard to find. The next one is called The Man Who Tapped into the Secrets of the Universe, and this is by Glenn Clark, who is writing about Walter Russell, and this is very good. This next one is something I typed up from listening to this John Mark Hammer channeling Jesus, and the title of his channeling session was called The Meaning of Ascension. It's very good. And this next one's called The Name of the Beast is 666, and this is by Frank B. Robinson, the mail order prophet, the one who wrote the Psychania lessons and wrote many, many things as well, which can all be read for free on the Psychania reader that you can find online. The next one is called The Secret of Light by Walter Russell. Very, very good. It's kind of a watered down version of the Universal one. The Universal one that he writes that I showed you already, really don't read it unless you're of a scientific mind, because I read it and I couldn't understand most of what I was reading. Just now and then I could. But you really have to have a mind for science to understand the Universal one. But The Secret of Light is real similar in that it describes some of the same things, but only in a little easier to understand language. This next one is called The Starseed Transmissions, and that is a Ken Carey book. Very good. And this next one is from a book called The Way Out. It's called The Teacher. Some very important words to hear if you are someone who teaches others. And this next one is book 1 of The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. You see, I don't have them all together somehow. They just didn't wind up that way. And the next one is called The Impersonal Life, and that is a book by Joseph Brenner. It also was Elvis Presley's most favorite book to give away. Okay, the next one is called The 4 Agreements, and that is by Don McGill-Rooks. That's very good. And then there's The Return of the Dove by Margaret Storm, and this is a very good book. And the second half of this book, she talks a lot about Nikola Tesla, and from the way she talks about him, I think she must have had a personal friendship with him. Okay, the next book here is called The Way of the Wizard by Deepak Chopra. Very good book. Talks about the Holy Grail and the quest for the Holy Grail. Now, the rest of my playlist are not books that I'm reading. These are just some books, some playlists that I found really good, and I wanted to save them for my own ability to be able to go and listen to them again. So I have put all the books that I read at the very top of my playlist by putting an AA or an AAA in front of it. And the AAA means I can send you that book. Unless I've made a mistake and I put one in there I shouldn't have. But hopefully I didn't. Anyway, I'm wanting to say that I would like anyone that wants to read these to please feel free to ask me to send you the file. What I do is I get your email address and I open up my Google Documents to you so that you can read it out of there. That's an online word processing document that is very shareable. So it costs me nothing to share it, so just don't mind asking for it, please. Anyway, this is the Dove Lady. I just want to say hello. I'm glad we've got 15 minutes because I've already gone over 10 now. We now have 15 minutes on our videos we can make. And that's good because I like to talk a lot. So I will see you over and out. Bye-bye.